Coming up on Pope's Plates, sweet and sour meatloaf. Hi, this is Jennifer. Thank you for joining me as we take a walk through the recipes that have built the culinary foundation of my family. Today we're going to be making my grandmother Adele's sweet and sour meatloaf. Before we begin, preheat an oven to 350 degrees Fahrenheit. I'm going to begin by chopping the equivalent of one onion. I had a half of one and a half of the other. But you're going to chop those pretty finely, but they don't need to be very uniform. And you're going to saute them until they are tender. They do not have to be cooked all the way through because they'll be cooked in the oven as well. Set the onions aside to cool a little bit because since there will be egg in our meatloaf, we don't want the onions to be too hot because we don't want scrambled eggs in our meatloaf. Then we're going to use 1 to 1 1/4 pound of ground beef. I use 80/20, but use whatever fat content you like. Let's now add 1 egg and 4 tablespoons of onion soup mix. You can use the packaged kind, or I have a recipe that I'll link in the description box below for homemade onion soup mix. Now that our onions have cooled, we're going to add them into the ground beef mixture. I also sometimes will put green peppers in my meatloaf. I think it just depends on what I have at the time and what I'm really wanting to eat that day. Now for the binder. In addition to the egg, we're going to add 1/2 cup of seasoned breadcrumbs. I like to use Panko breadcrumbs. My grandmother's recipe calls for saltine crackers, which I think is kind of fun. I don't do that, but you definitely could if you wanted to. Let's begin to mix our meatloaf together. This is not our final mix, but I just want to bring in some of the breadcrumbs to the meat and set it aside while we make the sweet and sour sauce that not only tops the meatloaf, but it goes in the meatloaf. Let's make our sweet and sour sauce. Actually, my grandmother's sweet and sour sauce. We're going to add 1 8-ounce can of tomato juice, and to that we're going to add 1/3 cup of brown sugar and 1/3 cup of white vinegar. The last ingredient in our sweet and sour sauce is 1 teaspoon of prepared yellow mustard. Once all of the ingredients of the sweet and sour sauce are put in the bowl, you're going to whisk it together really well. You may need to set it aside for a few minutes and let the brown sugar dissolve, but mixing it really well and quickly will probably get that done for you and you won't have to set it aside. I didn't show this. I'm not sure where this footage went, but I add 1/4 of the sweet and sour sauce, which is 1/4 cup, to the ground beef and mix it well, form it, and put it in a glass casserole dish. Let's go ahead and add an additional 1/4 cup sweet and sour sauce to the top of our meatloaf and put it in a 350-degree Fahrenheit oven for 1 hour, or until the meatloaf reaches an internal temperature of 150 degrees Fahrenheit. I like to serve it with mashed potatoes and some green vegetable. I really hope you make this meatloaf and enjoy it. My grandmother loved this meatloaf, and so do I. Thanks for visiting Pope's Plates. Make sure you give this video a thumbs up. Click the notification bell so that you'll know when we have new videos available. And make sure you subscribe to our channel if you haven't already. Until I see you again, let's get cooking!